Hey, welcome back to another training video here in Conversational Cam Pro. Today we're going to be focusing on a specific toolpath known as indexing multi-sided cut. So we're going to answer two questions, just like all the other basic toolpath videos so far, is what does this toolpath do to the material? What are the end results? And how do we control it? How do we toolpath and program it? So we're going to be using two visualizations to help understand what this is. We're going to be using our Aspire software to create a 2D layout of what we need, as well as going to the machine and cutting it towards the end of this video. So without further ado, let's jump on over to Aspire. Now, in the last video, we did a indexing multi-sided surfacing. Technically, this does the exact same concept, except one key difference is what is the shape of the material at the beginning. Okay, so in our last video, we machined a square surface. If this was the end view, right? We machined a square surface, but we started from a square blank to begin with. This, the multi-sided cut, allows us to machine also multiple sides, as many as we wish. This is 4 sides. We could have 6, 12, it doesn't matter. But this is going to be machining this flat with that many sides as we tell it to, but starting from a round diameter spindle. Okay? And what this is going to do, the way this is going to figure this out, we get to choose how many sides that we want on our multi-sided design, and it will fit within the swing diameter of that turned round section. You can see that the corners will automatically come right up to the section diameter. So in this scenario, we don't have to really say, oh, I want to machine this square to a certain size. It's just going to maximize the square until it fits within a round diameter section, is how we're going to control this. Now, this is going to approach the material in the same way as the multi-sided surface. It's going to be taking a surfacing cutter, typical for this type of application. It's going to have a starting position. It's going to be traveling down the stock until it gets to the ending position. And then it's going to cross over the width of the part and then zigzag its way back across the material. Technically, if we look from a top view, it's a little easier to understand this versus from a side view. So this is a side view, is what that cutter represented. This would represent a top view, okay? So if we're looking at the top of the material and this is the surfacing cutter rotating from a top view, the cutter is going to approach right here at a starting point. It's then going to travel down the stock to the ending position, and then it's going to cut across the material and then cut across that edge till it gets to the start position again, and then cut all the way back. Then it's going to simply zigzag back and forth until it works its way all the way to the middle, making sure that we've cleared that entire area and making it flat. And then it will simply index the material to the next side based on how many faces we have in our program, and it will repeat that process at surfacing that technique. So again, very similar to the multi-sided surfacing, but this is called multi-sided cut. Again, we're starting from a round diameter section and turning that into a multi-sided facet. So let's go into CCAM Pro and see how we can program this. So in CCAM Pro, let's go to Projects under our training sample projects that we've been using so far. Now in our Training Center, we created another blank called Multi-Sided Sample, okay? And in here, if we go to our toolpaths, I actually already have a turning round toolpath here. So back in our drawing, this section here in the end, I've turned this round to 2.5 inches already. That represents that cylinder diameter. And then we're going to turn that into a square section from that example of that surface. So going back here, since that's already been turned around, let's actually do the indexing multi-sided cut process. And now we can go and control the questions and parameters. So the cutter that we're going to be using, if we go select our tool, is the surfacing cutter that we used for the other multi-sided surfacing toolpath as well, but this time for multi-sided cut. We'll select that tool, make it at tool 1. And here, just like the other toolpath, we're going to choose how many flat sides we want to have evenly distributed around the circumference of this diameter spindle. I'm going to say 4 for this example. And here's our first parameter that we need to go get from our drawing is what is the section diameter that this is starting from. Okay, so that is the round section that the multi-sides is going to fit into, right? So the corners are going to go right to this diameter section that we have already created on this spindle. So this, if we measure this, we'll just do a vertical dimension here. This is a diameter section of 2.5 inches. So let's go put that in our section diameter. This is where everything is being calculated, is from that diameter section. Now we have a starting and ending position along the x-axis. So let's go throw some dimensions out here, horizontal, from the x0 point, which is the left edge of our blank, to where we're going to start the multi-sided cut process is here at 4.5 inches, and also from x0 to the end in this scenario will be 9 inches. So our start and ending position, 4.5 and 9. So let's go put those in, 4.5, 9 inches on our ending position. The last thing we need to fill in here is what is our step over? How much do we want the cutter to remove from side to side as it's surfacing this part? If we look visually here, again from a top view, so if the cutter came and it traveled, again starting here, and then it traveled all the way down to this end, how far would it step over to the edge before traveling back? Typically, most surfacing applications is you don't want to go more than 40% of the diameter of the cutter for your step overs. If you do, I mean, not that it can't handle it, but it flexes the tool and puts different loads on the blank and on the spindle, and things just typically don't last as long as if you did a 40% step over. So for longevity purposes and for cut quality, we're going to use 40%, and on 1.25 inches, 40% is 1/2 of an inch. So if we come over here and put a step over of 0.5 inches, that's going to be our step over from side to side along the surface of that part. The rest of this is going to be left defaulted, and we are now ready to finish and save. And we have our tool paths that were created. Now again, this first tool path I've already cut on the machine, just turning it round to 2.5 inches as a cylinder section. And then we have our multi-sided cut, which is going to turn that round section into a multi-sided square section in this scenario for 4 sides. So let's generate our G-code just for that tool path, and there is our surfacing routine. We can save out our G-code file. We'll put this under our tool paths, under our multi-sided cut samples, and we are definitely titling this Indexing Multi-Sided Cut G-code and save. Now let's go out to the machine and watch this take place. Now the cutter approaches this cutting technique the exact same way as the multi-sided surfacing. It will climb mill the edges of the part first, going around the perimeter, and then work its way in towards the center. The difference is, though, is that this stock is beginning from a round cylinder diameter, and it's going to have to remove a little bit more material, so it's going to break this up into 2 passes for each surface. You may notice that all of the x-axis cuts that go along the length of the spindle are climb milled. This ensures that we get the best cut quality possible with minimum sanding. After this surfacing technique happens twice for 2 different cut depths, the cutter moves out of the way so the part can index to the new surface and repeat this process for all 4 sides. All the cutting advantages shown throughout this cutting demonstration are automatically implemented into this Indexing Multi-Sided Cut toolpath in Conversational Cam Pro. You now have a basic understanding on how to use the Indexing Multi-Sided Cut toolpath. Go out and give it a try yourself. Now, these types of videos generate a lot of different questions. I recommend you take advantage of 2 resources to answer your questions. First is head on over to our website at legacywoodworking.com. There you'll find all the different product information, additional cutting demonstrations, and much more. The second resource I recommend doing is actually getting in contact with one of our CNC experts. You can call them at 801-491-0010. They will be happy to answer any of your questions, put on software or cutting demonstrations with the machines, and point you to additional resources, again, to
fulfill your needs. Now, if you'd like to just simply watch more videos, I don't blame you. Just click right over there. I think we all know what to do. If you want to be notified of future videos, just click that button down below, and don't hesitate to give us a like if you liked what you saw. As always, thanks for watching. And remember, Legacy solves more woodworking problems and allows you to say yes to more opportunities than any other CNC manufacturer in the industry.